Hi, Bridgette Griffiths here from Team Griffiths & Gunn at Your Address Real Estate, and I'm back with Guy Gibbons from Bennett Carroll Solicitors. Welcome back, Guy.
Thank you.
Now, Guy, obviously technology's moved forward as far as contracts and real estate goes, and even us as agents now, we're using a lot more DocuSign contracts, so electronic signing platforms. What should a buyer and seller be looking out for when they're doing these electronic signatories, and what are the sort of, I guess, legal ramifications of it?
Okay, well, the law really hasn't changed. So the law has always been that if you sign a contract, if you put a mark on a document that indicates that you accept the contents of that document, that you're bound.
Yeah.
Now, we all do that by putting somewhere between a cross and a thumbprint and a full-blown signature at the bottom of the document.
Yeah.
That's how we indicate that we intend to be bound. And DocuSign that's just a brand of electronic signature, yeah. But people use it. It's like the Kleenex of its market. So DocuSign is just another way of doing that.
Yeah.
And it allows you to put your signature on a soft copy document. So you don't have to print it, sign it, scan it, send it. While we're on that subject, you don't need, in order to have a fully blown contract in Queensland, you don't need what we would call a wet signature, a signature with original ink of all of the parties.
Yep.
So you can actually sign an original ink, send it electronically, have it printed at the other end, signed, scanned and sent back. And if it's got all the signatures on it, it's enforceable.
Regardless of how those signatures got there?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So there's a number of ways in Queensland that you can do this. Laws vary state by state.
Yeah.
In Western Australia, for example, if somebody walks through a room carrying a contract, that's acceptable. That's it. They're
totally different.
Their hurdle for what's an enforceable contract is very low.
Okay.
Here you need signatures of all of the parties, but they don't have to be original ink. And the DocuSign process is just another way of doing that.
Yeah.
It's a way of you indicating electronically that you are intending to be bound by that document. And if you're overseas, if you're interstate, if you actually can't get to where you need to get to pick up a pen and sign, then it's a perfectly acceptable way of doing that. There's a certificate process inside DocuSign, yeah. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, that little funny thing, that doesn't look like a signature to me, is that actually really a signature of the buyer?
Yeah.
You can actually go and check the digital certificate and check that that is the person that it's supposed to be.
So it gives you their IP address, doesn't it? And also date stamps it and time stamps it when they received it, when they viewed it, when they signed it, that sort of stuff. In
many respects, it's better than a wet signature because mine looks like a squash spider. So how do you know that's me? With a DocuSign certificate, you can actually see whose DocuSign certificate that is, check it against the name on the contract, and you've got a little bit more comfort that is actually an authorised signature.
I know we've had buyers, I guess, talk about how quickly, if you haven't seen DocuSign, essentially it opens up and you review the document and it can zip through quite quickly where you need to sign. So obviously buyers and sellers both still need to stop for a moment and actually review the contract as you would if it was in paper in front of you.
Absolutely, and it still amazes me after more than 3 decades of people sign stuff that they haven't read, but they do. For most people, this is the biggest transaction they will ever do in their lives, and it's worth spending a minute or two just reading through it. It's only a few pages. It wasn't Sanskrit when I started doing this, but it was only one A3 page folded in half. That was the entire REIQ contract.
My goodness.
Right. It's a bit longer
15
than that
pages.
Now, but it's not phenomenally longer. It's not like reading a novel, and it is important to make sure that you understand what those obligations are. And if you can't or won't do that, at least speak to somebody. Most conveyancing firms, most law firms, if you rang ours, for example, and said, "Hey, look, I'm about to sign a contract. This is what it looks like," we would say, shoot it through to us in draft. We'll ring you straight back, or we'll do it live on the phone now, and we'll take you through it so that at least you know what your obligations are.
Sure.
Because it's the most money most people will spend in their lives in one transaction.
Yeah, so it does pay to certainly seek some good advice if you are, if you do have any questions around it, but definitely read the fine print, they always say, don't they?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Look, thank you so much, Guy. Thanks so much, and we'll see you all again really soon.
See you soon.